To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a soap opera star.
Gracious me, my car has storm damage and I've had to file a claim. Could it possibly get worse? Will my claims team leave me for someone else? Someone less intense?
No. Actually, when you file a claim with Geico, you get your own dedicated claims team who promises to stay with you throughout the process.
Oh, I've never known such loyalty. I can't wait for the second season.
Geico. Great service without all the drama.
Good afternoon. Would you like to try a free sample of our double fudge brownie?
Oh, sure. That's very good. I'll just take one more, just to be sure. Yep, still very good.
Some things never change, like never being able to take just one free sample. And Geico saving folks lots of money on their car insurance.
Is that macadamia nut I taste? Let me take one more.
Sir.
Yeah, I thought so.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Is that Shakespeare?
Nope, it's Geico.
Yeah, that's Shakespeare from one of his unpublished works. Oh, it be not for awakening. Nay, giveth thou the berries. For 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
No, it's from Geico, 'cause they help save people money.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Geico got it from Shakespeare.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Straight out of Vegas here, Fox Sports Radio. I'm Jonas Knox alongside Steve Fezzik, and coming up on the show, we have got ourselves a major trade in the NBA as we head towards the draft coming up later on tonight. We've also got the MLB trade deadline, some possible big-time moves taking place. It could shift the power, not only in the American League, but in the National League and beyond. And we've also got the latest from the NFL. What would one team look like had they not gotten what they needed to get done this offseason? All of that is yours the next 60 minutes straight out of Vegas right here on Fox Sports Radio.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio. This is Straight Out of Vegas with the voice of Vegas, your host, RJ Bell.
Give me a number, girl. Give me a phone. I collect numbers. More and more. Give me a number, girl. Give me a phone. I'm a scientist of counting. I tell you more.
The pregame show America has always wanted.
I tell the future. I tell the future.
From the Vegas Strip, here's RJ Bell.
It's Straight Out of Vegas here on Fox Sports Radio. Jonas Knox, Steve Fezzik in for RJ Bell. You can listen to this show, as always, on the iHeartRadio app. You can find us on hundreds of Fox Sports Radio affiliates, and wherever you are making us a part of your Thursday afternoon into the evening, we appreciate you doing so. We're going to take you all the way up until 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Pacific, right here on Fox Sports Radio. And we can't do this show alone without the villain of the Vegas Strip, the one and only Steve Fezzik.
Fill in. I'll take it, Jonas. Happy to be here in Vegas, and hopefully we pass out some winners today.
Yeah, if that's villain, like villainous, like villain in a movie, you know, like you're the villain of the Vegas Strip, not the fill-in. Come on, have some more respect for yourself, as I'm the fill-in, all right? Don't try and take my title.
I like that very much, and I don't mind being the bad guy as long as I pick winners.
Yeah, that is true, because you did once walk into a casino in disguise, correct? That's a true story?
Once.
You know, back in the 90s, I used to go up to northern Nevada, and I would wear cowboy boots. I would wear a cowboy hat. The rodeo would be in town, and I just try to go ahead and
Northern
mix in.
Nevada. What is that, Calgary? Come on, Fez. What are we talking about here?
Sparks, Reno, Tahoe, and you know what? I was part of a group that just annihilated the small town of Wendover, Nevada. To this day, I'm afraid to go back to Wendover. It borders Utah, about 80-mile drive from Salt Lake City. We did some damage to Wendover.
Yeah, and so So the reputation you carried with you, and then all of a sudden, you get to Las Vegas, and people are on the lookout for you. And why they're on the lookout for you is because how successful you are, not only betting sports, but also betting the AAF. But we will not be talking about the AAF here, Fez, and we're going to leave the XFL to another time and another place. We're going to start first with a deal that is imminent in the NBA. And according to The Athletic, as Dan Byer mentioned in his update a few minutes ago, the Lakers are nearing a deal to acquire Russell Westbrook from the Washington Wizards. This would be in exchange for Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, KCP, and a first-round draft pick coming up later on tonight in the NBA draft. So, Fez, here we are, the Lakers making moves, and what does this do in the eyes of Vegas?
Yeah, so Vegas is more bullish on the Lakers. The Lakers were the number 2 choice to win the NBA title. They're still the number 2 choice. However, the Lakers' odds have fallen from 5-1 to 4-1. Now, that doesn't seem like that significant of a move, but part of this, Jonas, is that at 5-1, the Lakers really were a poor bet, in my opinion, before this news. And now at 4-1, the Lakers are a whole lot more attractive. The Nets still the favorite at 3-1. But in terms of power ratings, balance of power, if you upgrade the Lakers a couple points, 2 points for this move, and I certainly think that that would be appropriate. Westbrook himself is worth 2.5 to 3 points to a typical team. That would put them right with the Brooklyn Nets as being the best team in the NBA.
Yeah, I don't like the deal at all. I'll be honest with you. I think this is this reeks of desperation, and it feels like they're just looking to add a superstar because they continue to want to roll out we got to have our big three, we got to have our big three. I mean, the two biggest issues for the Lakers this past season was the health of LeBron James and most notably the health of Anthony Davis. I don't know how this alleviates that. You still got those question marks. And then Russell Westbrook is a guy who wants to control the basketball and take the game into his own hands. And I just think that presents some problems. I don't know that LeBron James wants to sit back and just watch that the entire time. I don't know that Anthony Davis wants to sit back and watch that the entire time. And at some point, there's going to be a discussion or a conversation. And I don't know that Russell Westbrook wants to cater to LeBron James. He is coming home. Like this, he played at UCLA. This is home for Russell Westbrook, and the idea that he's going to take a back seat to LeBron James, even though he's the new guy there, I find it hard to believe. I'm skeptical on this move all the way through. And this was rumored out here for a while, and I just thought the fit feels like a little bit of a forced thing. It feels like they're trying to go in a direction here to add another superstar because it's the Lakers, and I just don't know how that's going to play next year.
It does feel like the paint is going to get awfully crowded. What was the book on the Lakers? Not enough three-point shooting,
right.
Too much scoring in the paint, and we all know Westbrook is at his best driving into the paint, scoring, or dishing outside. So from that perspective, I agree with you. You would not think the Lakers would be the ideal fit for him.
Yeah, and I look, and there could be some other moves that are being made here. There's obviously been rumblings of other deals done. Maybe a shooter out there. I mean, I think this probably takes them out of the Bradley Beal sweepstakes because I don't know what they've got to be able to offer. But if this is the beginning of a second move, then great. This move alone, I don't know that this all of a sudden alleviates the issues that they had this past season.
You know, one key issue, and you nailed it, the health of LeBron and the health of AD and the beauty, and Mackenzie just passed me this note, and I agree with it. The Westbrook can 100% run the offense. He can be the engine during the regular season to get you enough wins to be a 1-4 seed without putting too much of a burden on AD and LeBron and keep them healthier before the playoffs.
Yeah, no, he's going to, for sure. And that's the one thing I love about Westbrook. You can say whatever you want about the guy. He's going to be out there virtually every night if he can be, and he's going to give you 110% every single game. So from that standpoint, I do like it, but the chemistry, I just wonder how this whole thing is going to play out. It is straight out of Vegas here, Fox Sports Radio. Jonas Knox, Steve Fezzik in for RJ Bell. All right, so Fez, when it comes to a move like this, when you see a move that could get done, and we're going to get to the NBA draft in a minute, timing is everything, correct? So the timing of this is the most important thing from when Vegas takes a look at it as to when, your normal everyday doesn't know what the hell he's talking about guy like me when it comes to when I walk into a casino. I'm not into disguise. They cater to my every need because they know they're going to take me for everything I've got in my back pocket and my front pocket. So with that being said, timing is everything with a move by this. And what does that do in the eyes of Vegas when it comes to the Lakers trying to pull off a deal and acquiring Russell Westbrook?
Well, unfortunately, there's not enough product out there right now for the wise guys really to benefit. Yes, some guys did get the Lakers 5-1, got a little value on the future, but only one team's going to win the NBA title. And I think if there was one theme we saw last year over the course of the playoffs is how many different teams looked good at one certain point in time, only to be derailed by injuries, including the Clippers and numerous other teams, Brooklyn. And because of that, yeah, maybe that's a bet we want to put in our portfolio, but the wise guys far prefer the season wins bets where they can bet on or against a team, because certainly Russell Westbrook would be worth 3 extra wins or so to the Lakers. So it's too bad those numbers are not up right now, so we can't just go ahead and bet the Lakers to go over on season wins, which would be a bet I would have far preferred to take advantage of this news versus to win the title.
All right, so now we move forward to the NBA draft, which is coming up later on tonight. And why are you bored with this draft, Fez? What's your problem? Why do you have an issue with the NBA draft? These are kids that are going to, realize a dream. They've been working their entire lives for this. They're really excited about the opportunity to be drafted, to be on national television, to get one of those sweet hats, to walk up there in a dapper suit, to show off their brand new Rolex, to be with their family, to celebrate their loved ones. They finally got wealth. They've got fame coming to them. And here comes Hurricane Fez, who's got to blow through town. You don't even give him enough time to board up the windows. You just start destroying stuff. What is your problem with the NBA draft? Why are you bored by it?
I have multiple reasons to be bored. Let me start with the fact it's pretty much predetermined. Now, we saw this with the NFL, that by draft day, the projected top 5 picks in the NFL went according to form, that every one of these guys was slated in a certain spot. Pitts, for instance, was supposed to go to Atlanta, and he became more than a 3-1 favorite. Chase to Cincinnati, even the number 5 pick, more than a 3-1 favorite. And I remember when that happened in the NFL, and I said, well, that won't ever happen in the NBA draft. And yet it has indeed happened. In fact, Mackenzie, correct me if I'm right, currently there is no betting anywhere or in almost all locations on who's going to be the first, second, third, and fourth picks, because they are all seemingly predetermined.
Correct. You are right.
I mean,
number 5 is the earliest you can bet a pick. That would be Scotty Barnes, looking like he's going to the Magic at minus 300. All the rest of these guys were minus 1,000 or whatever before they were taken off the board, the top 4 picks.
All right, so whose fault is this? Whose fault is this, Fez?
I think the fault is just everyone has gotten so used to locking in players, and people's jobs are in the lines, and teams would much rather have everything predetermined and not have that. Remember the movie Draft Day, when all heck was breaking loose and no one knew who was going to take who? And the opposite now occurs, where it seems every team is in communication with each other about who they're going to take and with the players. And, the last thing I did before I drove in to do the show, Jalen Green, I could have bet him. I could have risked $300 to win $100 just yesterday on Jalen Green to be a Rocket. Today, I risked $1,000 to win $100, so I laid 3 times as much vig. Why would I make a bet like that? Because yesterday it wasn't certain he was going to the Rockets, and now I would say it's 98%. And you know what, Jonas? If I can lay $1,000, I only have to be right 90% of the time here on this bet to break even, and it's a 98% bet. It was one fine bet to bet on Jalen Green at one of the few spots that was still dealing him to be the number 2 pick in the draft.
Okay, so why would they limit their options? Why would they limit the opportunity for people to bet on the because here's my question for you. So basically, big picture, so people can understand this in simpler terms. Vegas isn't allowing you the ability to get as many bets in on this, and quite frankly, they haven't allowed you to be able to get a bet in on this because it is basically predetermined, and we all feel like we know who the order of the picks are going to be coming up later on, correct?
That is true, not just in Vegas, but everywhere. But you bring up Vegas, thank you. And I got to throw Nevada under the bus here because there is the most archaic, horrible rule I've ever heard when it comes to draft betting, NFL and NBA. In the state of Nevada, you cannot wager on any of this, Jonas, 24 hours prior to the draft. They force every sportsbook to take all of the odds off. So think about this. We are the one state that had a monopoly on sports betting. And now fast forward here to 2021. If I want to bet on the draft and where guys are going to go, where Scotty Barnes, if he's going to go number 5, I can bet on it in New Jersey and some other states, but I cannot bet on it in Las Vegas. It makes no sense.
That's crazy. And there's also another aspect of this, which I think applies to, if you're listening to this right now, there is another angle on this that applies to you, that there's nobody else that can give you the warning and the info and the tip you need to go ahead and make sure you don't fall victim to what they're trying to pull there in Nevada. Up next, it is the tip, the info you need to make sure you don't fall victim to some of these sneaky little tricks in the state of Nevada. We'll have that for you next year. It's Straight Out of Vegas, Fox Sports Radio.
Straight Out of Vegas!
Be sure to catch live editions of Straight Out of Vegas weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and the iHeartRadio app.
It's crazy how much we have to pay for outdated, impersonal healthcare, and even crazier that we all just accept it. It's time to face facts. Healthcare is backwards. Luckily, there's Forward, a new approach to primary care that's surprisingly personal and refreshingly straightforward. Forward never makes you feel like just another patient. Backed by top-rated doctors and the latest tech, Forward gives you access to personalized care whenever you need it. Using in-depth genetic analysis and real-time blood work, Forward's top-rated doctors provide you with in-depth insights to better understand your genetics, mental, and physical health. They then create custom, easy-to-understand plans to help guide you to achieving long-term health. With Forward, you get unlimited in-person visits with your doctor and access to care anytime via the Forward app, all for one flat monthly fee. It's time to stop accepting backwards healthcare and start moving your health forward. Visit GoForward.com today to learn more. That's GoForward.com.
Support for this podcast comes from CLR Clear. If stubborn shower mold has you miffed, or you're hard-pressed to get rid of hard water buildup, it's high time you kick your so-so cleaning products to the curb. It's time to fight the clean fight with the CLR Clear family of products. CLR Clear knows there's all kinds of dirty, which is why they offer products to help you take on messes all around your home. So go on and fight off that countertop crud. Square up with those carpet stains. Go crazy on your garbage disposal gunk. CLR Clear has formulas to help you get the dirty deeds done. Plus, many of their products meet the EPA's Safer Product Standard. So while tough on messes, it's still the safer choice for your family and the environment. Show dirt and grime around your home who's boss with CLR Clear and fight the clean fight. Learn more about the entire product lineup by going to CLRbrands.com.
Geico knows there are many reasons why you ride. From the exciting adventure of the daily commute to the peace of mind that Geico always has your back with 24/7 access to claim service and legendary customer service. But Pamela Mund had one reason in particular.
My skin is extremely averse to most fabrics, except for the soft, buttery feeling of leather. Thankfully, I found my clan of leather lovers in the biking community. It's been life-changing.
Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I disagree with intervention. I disagree with protocol. If you speak out against the world.
Straight Out of Vegas here on Fox Sports Radio. You can hang out with us as always on the iHeartRadio app. Coming up here in just a couple of moments from now, there is a sneaky little game being played in the city of Las Vegas, and we will get to the bottom of that. Tips, things for you to avoid when it comes to this gambling world and this sick and twisted universe that we all live in. So we'll have that for you here coming up just a couple of minutes from now. But it is a tradition unlike any other. Right now, we must get the weather from the Strip in Las Vegas, and this man is live outside the autograph table that Pete Rose is currently sitting at the Forum Shops at Caesar's Palace. Stephen Fezzik, our fill-in meteorologist, what is the weather like there on the Strip?
Yeah, so it's 105 degrees right now in Vegas, Jonas, and the neon, it's blinking.
By the way, does Pete Rose still sit at the Forum shops and sign autographs? Because that was a thing for a long time, right?
Every day.
Good for him, man.
I have spoken to Pete many times walking through, and he has a phenomenal memory. Not just game 4 where he gets into, or game 3 when he got into the fight with Buddy Harrelson in the 73 NLCS, but just you can talk to him, and he has like a photographic memory of various games. And I asked him, how come when you're running around the bases you were always like holding your helmet down so it wouldn't fall off? Didn't that slow you down? And he looked at me like I was from Mars.
Yeah, well, it's probably because he had, his betting tickets under his helmet, so he wanted to make sure he didn't drop that. He didn't want to get busted in his career. He wanted to wait until he was a manager, Fez. Yeah, Andy Furman, Fox Sports Radio legend, Cincinnati sports radio legend. He and Pete are friends, and some of the stories, man, that was a wild time. Going to the track, betting on the on the ponies, some of the bad beats he suffered, all of that. So no, it's good for Pete Rose, man. I'm a Pete Rose fan. All right, I know what he did wrong. All right, but at some point, you gotta forgive people and get him into the Hall of Fame, I think, Fez.
Hey, 44-game hitting streak, number 2 in NL, all-time hits leader, and the inventor, as far as I can tell, of the head-first slide.
Yeah, and so with that being said, now we must dive headfirst into this topic of conversation in the city of Las Vegas here, because, look, we want to help people out. Don't fall victim to this. And, Fez, you were talking about, before we went to break, the situation with the NBA draft, how because things are predetermined, basically, we all know who's going to be taken where, that not only sports books elsewhere, but also Las Vegas pull these lines, right, to where you can't even get any action on this. For how long up until the NBA draft?
So in Nevada, the Nevada Gaming Board, 24 hours prior to the NBA and NFL draft, they require the sports books to no longer take bets on the draft. And Jonas, I almost look at this. Who is this protecting? Is this to protect the bettors from making bad bets? No. Not at all. This is 100% of Nevada saying, look, we know we got some operators that may not be so used to this draft betting, and they're going to get burned. Woj is going to text what player a certain team is going to take, and they're going to be caught with their pants down. So we have to protect our children, our casinos. We don't want Resorts World or someone else that's a new operator in Nevada to suddenly get crushed by the bettors. So we just won't allow anyone to bet on anything for 24 hours prior to the draft.
And here's what's so dumb about that. All right, and this is what makes betting on the Super Bowl great, because they set limits. So what they do is, and tell me if I'm wrong, Fez, because I know this from, just looking at some online sports books that I've seen before, to where you can bet on these prop bets. So you can bet on, color of the Gatorade, length of the national anthem, coin flip, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can get down on all of those from anywhere in the country. But there's a limit that you can bet on them. So that way they're not losing. So if there's information that comes in that somebody knows something, they're not going to get as burned because they've set a maximum amount that you can bet on this. And so therefore you're not going to take them for everything they've got, because you've got sort of insider information on how long the national anthem is going to be, and you bet on the over. And so if you're Vegas, why don't you start doing that? Like, why don't you set limits on this stuff? Why would you turn away business when you've got an opportunity with people in town thinking they know a thing or two? Hey, I can win $25, $50 on who goes number 1 in the NFL draft or the NBA draft. Don't cut them off 24 hours ahead of time. Like, set a limit in the next 24 hours, so that way you can still get some action, and therefore people don't feel like they're getting duped by the sports books and by the entire town.
Yeah, spot on. And in fact, to quote one sports book in their policies, the Win lets me bet. They're very cordial. But when I bet on the app, oftentimes I'm limited to $200. Well, you know what? It still spends. $200 is a nice dinner. If I'm at home and I'm a 34-minute ride to get to Win, I'll just put in the $200 bet if they have the very best number. But boom, I'm flagged. My account's flagged. I make the bet. The Win can say, hey, Fez is on the over here. We'll go ahead and move this a point based upon a small bet because they know more often than not that line's going to continue to move. They profile the players. They take the winning players. They use the information, adjust their lines. That's the optimal way to run a sports book.
And we talked about this yesterday. It seems like a theme here when it comes to the city of Las Vegas. Now, I'm not going to use some of the vulgar language that I was texted by Steve Fezzik here on the air. I'm a broadcast professional. But there's a theme here in which people maybe a little I don't want to say that they don't have the guts, but they want to make sure that they don't get burned here. And that theme we talked about yesterday, Fez, when it came to Aaron Rodgers and the adjustment on the season win total and what you do with the Green Bay Packers. It wasn't that they were scared that he was going to walk away and retire. The theme with Nevada here and with the city of Las Vegas is that they want to make sure if they don't know exactly what's happening, that they're going to cover themselves. And so we saw this play out with the Aaron Rodgers situation in Green Bay.
Exactly right. They've got jelly in the belly. They're real scared. They don't ever want to get hit with a few bets when somebody knows more than they know. So they're better off batting 0 in their minds than to bat 500. Better any kind of uncertainty, pull the game off. Pull the team off. Don't let anyone wager on it. And that way, come Monday morning, I don't have to meet with the vice president of operations and explain why I took in $8,000 in action on or against the Green Bay Packers because I was in the bathroom and my backup wasn't doing his job either. And 5 guys all bet on or against the Packers right after Woj tweeted information on them.
And so when it comes to the Green Bay Packers, as we transition here straight out of Vegas on Fox Sports Radio, Jonas Knox, Steve Fezzik with you here on FSR. We've now had a little over 24 hours to sort of marinate the piping that Aaron Rodgers gave the entire organization at his press conference yesterday. And so now that we've seen that Rodgers is going to be back, and now that we have an idea of what we're looking at when it comes to the Green Bay Packers from the quarterback position, it does make you wonder. Say none of this happened. Say there's a report out that Aaron Rodgers thought that there was a trade that was going to take place earlier in the offseason, or say he did decide he wanted to sit out until he got his way and he was not going to report. All that being said, without Aaron Rodgers, how much drastically different does this team look like moving forward this upcoming season?
Without Aaron Rodgers, the Packers are the 29th best team by my numbers in the NFL. They are still better than Houston, Detroit, and the god-awful New York Jets.
Okay, so they would be the 4th worst team in the league. Now, who would you put right above them? 28th, if without Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love is your quarterback, the 28th ranked team according to Steve Fezzik is who?
The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Think about that. That is a franchise who has swimming pools in their stadium. They play some games in London. They just hired Urban Meyer, who had to get rid of a strength coach less than 24 hours after he was hired because it was a mistake. They brought in Tim Tebow to play tight end, and they've got a rookie at quarterback who had surgery in the offseason. And that team would be considered better than the Green Bay Packers without Aaron Rodgers. That's what we're saying here.
Yeah, and these same Jacksonville Jaguars discussing whether they're going to allow full capacity in a COVID year this year for crowds. I got to ask you, Jonas, I've never seen a full capacity Jacksonville Jaguar game.
Oh, come on. How could you? That is totally insulting. It's like, we mentioned him a few minutes ago. Andy Furman, Fox Sports Radio host locally in Cincinnati, said, the Cincinnati Bengals invented social distancing years ago at stadiums. So, I mean, listen, I'm not here to partake in you bullying the Jacksonville Jaguars or Andy Furman bullying the Cincinnati Bengals. And you being a Bengal fan, you should take insult to that, Fez.
It's tough to win in the jungle when we're good, Jonas. The problem is we haven't been good since 1988.
Well, listen, you should have appreciated Andy Dalton while you had him. You didn't do it, and now you lose him, all right? You learned a lesson there, Fez. All right, so it is straight out of Vegas here on Fox Sports Radio. Steve Fezzik, Jonas Knox in for RJ Bell. Coming up next, we do have some news out of the world of football. Some interesting news, some accusations to go along with it. We'll have that for you next here on FSR.
Be sure to catch live editions of Straight Out of Vegas weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
It is straight out of Vegas here on Fox Sports Radio. What the hell is that smell? There's like, it's that Cubs dynasty going up in flames. What a joke. What a joke. Trying to tell everybody, all these people, all these fanboys, oh my God, how many? This is just one of so many. My ass. There was one and done for the Chicago Cubs. Now Rizzo's gone. Fire sale underway at Wrigley Field, Steve Fezzik.
Yeah, Cubs over-under season 79.5. So the sharp bettors were well aware that the Cubs were already big time on the decline. I think they lost 10 in a row this year. Eerily similar, Jonas, you're too young for this, but the Cubs had a great team back in 1983, made the playoffs, lost to San Diego. The next year, the Cubs lost 13 in a row. Sutcliffe went down early to an injury, and they were never the same for generations.
Fez, how do you remember that? What do we?
Northwestern, 1983.
Okay, I understand, but ask me to remember something when I was 21 years old.
Come on, Jonas, the charging Rhino, Sandberg, the Sarge, Gary Matthews, Dernier leading off. You know that team.
Look, I was raised a Cub fan. Let me tell you, I've heard all about all those great Cubs teams. I heard about the late 60s. I heard about 2 teams in the 80s, and that was pretty much it. And then you got to 2016, and everybody thought this was going to be a foregone conclusion dynasty moving forward.
Jody Davis hit one out to my Bud Light.
Yeah, I remember Damon Berryhill was another guy, a Chicago Cub from back in the day. I remember Damon Berryhill, all the legendary Cubs teams that won 65 games. But we move on from a diaper fire in Major League Baseball to a situation in college football. This has been the worst kept secret. Everybody expected this, and it was reported earlier that the 14 SEC presidents did unanimously vote to invite Texas and Oklahoma to join the conference. So Steve Fezzik, this comes just a day after the Big 12 made some accusations against ESPN that ESPN was, trying to do damage to the conference, trying to get the American Athletic Conference to come out and steal 3 to 5 teams from the Big 12. So it's a bad situation if you're the Big 12, but the SEC looks like it's going to get a couple of new guests here in the coming years.
Yeah, and the Big 12 has had problems for years. Most specifically, they're really the big one, that Oklahoma has just completely dominated this conference. And in fact, if you look at the conference title odds this year, Oklahoma minus 180 versus the field. Iowa State is they're up this year, but that won't continue going forward. Iowa State's around 3-1, Texas 8-1. So Texas has the reputation and the recruiting and the ratings. Oklahoma has the one elite team, and you look at the rest of this Big 12, Jonas, and it is just not ready for prime time. This conference had major problems even before the Oklahoma-Texas likely defection.
You know what's funny? I want to ask you about this because we've talked about this before. The Texas hype train every year is crazy to me. They are one of the most talked about, hyped up, loved teams. They got a great fan base, all of that stuff. People love Texas football, and I don't get it. It seems like every year we have the same conversation. They lose a game early, and it's like, oh my God, this wasn't what we expected. And then a couple years later, they fire a head coach because they got to get somebody else in. They're paying off 3 different coaches' contracts because they think they finally found the next guy. They're one of those teams, right? When it comes, and we've talked about this before, to where there are these popular fan bases that really bet their teams. We just talked about the Cubs. The Cubs would have been one of them, to where people would bet, to win the World Series for years and years, because if it happens, I want to look like a genius. We've talked about teams like that in the NFL, the Cowboys being one of them. People love the Dallas Cowboys, but they haven't won anything since the mid-'90s. Is Texas that team for college football?
I think so, and I think that the national title win against USC, one of the greatest college football teams ever, really hyped them moving forward, and you nailed it. If you're the Cubs or if you're Texas and you win a national championship and your program or your team just isn't that good, all of a sudden you can become fade material for years. I would like nothing better than the perennially overrated Notre Dame Irish to take home a national title so we could make money betting against these underachievers for the next 10 years.
All right, so Steve Fezzik, with that being said, now that we look at the Big 12 and now that we see just sort of the landscape of things and what this conference could look like moving forward, what is You've identified a team that doesn't belong, correct? You guys have done some research, and you decided, why be nice on today's show? Why would we want to be nice and be decent people on today's show? So you've identified a team that doesn't belong in the Big 12. Please explain.
West Virginia.
Okay.
Yes, I get it from a power ratings perspective. They're a perfectly good addition to the Big 12. But the problem is geographically, it makes no sense. I get it. Conferences were expanding. Hey, the Big 10 went ahead and took Rutgers and Maryland. Well, the Big 10 already had Penn State, and now they have several teams in the East. Poor West Virginia is sitting by itself. Think about the disservice to the athletes, the travel. If you're a Mountaineer, to have to go and travel over 900 miles to each and every game. This team does not belong in your conference, and hopefully this will be with the Big 12 shakeup, West Virginia can get in a conference they belong. In fact, we did a little research. Mackenzie, you identified the Big 12 team closest to West Virginia. What is it?
Iowa State, a clean 917 miles as the crow flies from West Virginia.
Look, I'm not expecting you to pull out your Rand McNally here, Mackenzie, but I'm just, by the way, for those of you, that was a map company back in the day. Just letting people know, a little Rand McNally drop here on the show. But I'm not expecting you to pull out, a map you got at Whiskey Pete's on your drive-through state line to get back into the city of Las Vegas there, Mackenzie. But what is the nearest team next to Hawaii? Because I feel like Hawaii has been having to wear this issue when it comes to travel for a long time. And might I add, we are officially less than a month away from Hawaii at the Rose Bowl against UCLA. So I just want to know, where does Hawaii rank when it comes to most travel team? They got to be number one.
Well, of course, I don't have to look that up in any kind of atlas. I mean, that's just something in the back of your pocket. Honolulu to San Diego, of course, San Diego State being the closest, is 2,600 miles away from Hawaii.
That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. But this is what I'll say, Fez, when it comes to expansion of college football. I get the regional aspect of all this. It pains me that Maryland's in the Big Ten, because growing up, I just always associate Maryland with the ACC. It's like Syracuse is in the ACC. When you were watching the Big East tournament back in the day, it was always Syracuse, Georgetown. It was all of that's what I remember growing up. And that's Nebraska. Nebraska's pretty close. They're in the Midwest, but I still look at Nebraska and I go Big 12. When it comes to these other conferences pulling from other parts of the country, I think they do that a lot of times just to be able to survive, to bring another part of the country to their conference from the standpoint of, if you just rely on what you have regionally to be able to recruit, most places aren't going to survive. I mean, the South will, the West will, the state of Texas will, the upper Midwest will, but there's all these other places in college football that it doesn't make as much sense. So yeah, you're going to wear it a little bit when it comes to the travel, but if you want to bring some of the talent-rich places over to your conference, you got to go outside the box and you got to bring in some of these other schools.
Well, and ultimately, you should think about the kids as well. And if we look no further, Vegas defines how West Virginia has done performance-wise since they joined the Big 12. Mackenzie research here, going back to when they joined the Big 12 in 2012 in football, West Virginia 47, 60-4. That's just under 44% against the spread. Don't tell me that all those frequent flyer miles have not impacted the Mountaineers.
Yeah, it's great hearing some guys say, think about the kids when he waits for an injury during a game to get a live bet in. Yeah, but think about the kids, Fez. As Dak Prescott's leg almost falls off, and you jump to your computer to live bet whoever Dallas was playing in that game. How could?
If I don't do it, someone else will, Jones.
Of course, that's very good. That is your go-to. It is Straight Out of Vegas here on Fox Sports Radio. Up next, Best Bet Time, a money-making opportunity for you right here on Fox Sports Radio.
Straight Out of Vegas!
Fox Sports Radio has the best sports talk lineup in the nation. Catch all of our shows at foxsportsradio.com. And within the iHeartRadio app, search FSR to listen live.
To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a soap opera star.
Gracious me, my car has storm damage and I've had to file a claim. Could it possibly get worse? Will my claims team leave me for someone else? Someone less intense.
No. Actually, when you file a claim with Geico, you get your own dedicated claims team who promises to stay with you throughout the process.
Oh, I've never known such loyalty. I can't wait for the second season.
Geico. Great service without all the drama.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Is that Shakespeare?
Nope, it's Geico.
Yeah, that's Shakespeare from one of his unpublished works. Oh, it be not for awakening. Nay, giveth thou the berries. For 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Nope, it's from Geico, because they help save people money.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Geico got it from Shakespeare.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Good afternoon. Would you like to try a free sample of our double fudge brownie?
Oh, sure. That's very good. I'll just take one more, just to be sure. Yep, still very good.
Some things never change, like never being able to take just one free sample. And Geico saving folks lots of money on their car insurance.
Is that macadamia nut I taste? Let me take one more.
Sir?
Yeah, I thought so.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Straight out of Vegas here on Fox Sports Radio. Jonas Knox, Steve Fezzik in for RJ Bell. Coming up in a little over 10 minutes from now on many of these Fox Sports Radio affiliates. Make sure you stick around. It is the odd couple. Rob Parker, Chris Broussard. They will have all the latest on the trade in the NBA. Russell Westbrook appears to be headed to the Los Angeles Lakers. We've got the NBA drafts coming up later on. We've also got the MLB trade deadline, which is taking place. Anthony Rizzo of the Cubs is on his way to the New York Yankees. I could do a whole hour on that and just poke fun at that franchise. What a good time that is. And then you've also got the Max Scherzer developments in which we're trying to figure out where Max Scherzer ends up. It looked like it was going to be the Padres, but now we are hearing that a deal is not done. Teams are trying to up the offer from the Padres to try and get involved. So all of that is taking place. A wild, wild day, especially later in the day here in the world of sports. So make sure you stick around. Rob Parker, Chris Broussard coming up a little over 10 minutes from now on Fox Sports Radio. So that being said, Fez, it is best bet time. And I think before we get into a best bet you have in Major League Baseball, let's get into just looking back. You gave out so many best bets yesterday. You were making it rain. I mean, I don't know if you've ever made it rain at a club. I don't know if you're the James Harden of strip clubs, Steve Fezzik. I'm assuming not. But you made it rain yesterday when it came to best bets, especially in the NFL preseason.
Yeah, unfortunately, I found out quarters do not fly, so I'm not.
That's a good point. Yeah, that is a good point.
But here we go. I gave out 4 best bets, and this is why you need to listen to Straight Out of Vegas each and every day. These games aren't for 2 more weeks. Why am I giving them out now? Because I have the utmost confidence that they are all going to move, and we want to lock in the best numbers. All these games have moved half a point. I think they'll move more. You want to bet these now, not later, Jonas. Here they are. Washington, New England, over 34. Miami, Chicago, over 34. Denver, Minnesota, over 34. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, plus 3.5, hosting Cleveland. All 4 of those were the numbers I gave out yesterday. They've moved half a point. Bold prediction. Within 2 or 3 days, they'll have moved another half point. Get down now.
All right, Fez. Why don't you be honest here? And I'm not gonna bust your balls and say that you're being an egomaniac. Do you think you were partly responsible for those line moves?
Absolutely. As soon as I got home after I released them, I looked at the timestamps, and they all moved, Jonas. And this is important. Pros win not because they just pick winners. Pros win because of closing line value. They bet things, and the number they get is better than what you'll be able to bet right before the game kicks off or tips off.
But Mackenzie, Spencer, I think we know what we need to do for Christmas. Let's all chip in and let's get Fez one of those Ric Flair robes. Like we got to get you a Ric Flair robe, Fez, just so you can walk in and just brag about how you make lines move in Las Vegas. That's great.
He's already paid all the dues that he's going to pay. It's official. He's Ric Flair at this point.
Oh, yeah, he is. Good for you, Fez. I wish I had that much confidence. I don't. All I do is lose. All right, that's what I do, Fez. All right, it is straight out of Vegas here, Fox Sports Radio. So we've got best bet line moves from Steve Fezzik just 24 hours ago. Now we're seeing lines move. And now we've got a best bet Fez, but this time in Major League Baseball.
Yep, let's go to America's finest city. We're going to back the San Diego Padres, -1.5, -130. I know that's a big favorite with the Padres. What's the one thing that we look for when we bet a big favorite? As RJ loves to say, we need a motivated favorite. And San Diego is certainly motivated. It's slipping away. The Giants are getting away. The Dodgers are getting away. They are falling behind in the standings. But San Diego is still the number 3 pick, amazingly, to win the World Series. There's talk that they are going to get Scherzer, 3-time Cy Young Award winner. That's got to motivate the team as well. The organization has spent the dollars and looks like they're going to continue to spend the dollars. And what's not to like about fading the horrible Colorado team on the road, year-to-date 11-38 straight up on the road, and it's not a good spot for Colorado either. They've been at the Dodgers. They've been at Anaheim. Who knows what trouble they've gotten into in Southern California with the nightlife, and now they head to San Diego. This is a blowout, Jonas. San Diego wins by 4. We're going to lay 1.5 with the Padres.
Let me ask you this, Fez, real quick before we go. Do you like a team that is a seller or a buyer more before the deadline when it comes to putting your money on them?
Oh, I'd much rather fade a seller, a dead team. I think you can bet against the Cubs each and every night. And, a sneaky team to sell, Seattle. Seattle just went ahead and traded one of their key bullpen guys. The entire team is furious with management. They're a sneaky team I would look to fade rest of the year.
Traded him to a rival, too, in the Astros. Traded him to a rival.
It is good stuff there from Steve Fezzik. For Mackenzie, Spencer, John Ramos, Dan Byer, I am Jonas Knox. If you missed any of this show, check out the podcast at foxsportsradio.com. We're back tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time, right here on FSR.
Straight out of Vegas!
Have you been to Express lately? People can't get enough of their clothes. They're like instant confidence boosters. The jeans come in a temp control fabric that keeps you comfortable no matter the weather. And the t-shirts, hands down, they'll feel like they're made of the softest fabric you've ever worn. And get this, the suits have stretch and look sharp. Like, what? How do they do that? Everyone's raving about the newest looks from Express. Just check out the 5-star reviews. See for yourself and shop the latest at express.com and in stores.
It's the first ever training camp back together Saturday, fueled by Gatorade on NFL Network. All 32 teams take the field.
We're back, baby. Do it together. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Get all-day coverage and access like never before.
He's a playmaker at every level.
Hit the horn!
The biggest season ever is here. Training camp back together Saturday. Coverage begins at 9 a.m. Eastern on NFL Network.
For decades, this area has been a hotbed for paranormal sightings.
This is a strange place, this part of the country.
Ed, where are you?
Something about it just doesn't feel right.
iHeartRadio and Grim & Mild presents Bridgewater, starring Misha Collins, Melissa Ponzio, and Nathan Fillion. Created by Aaron Mankey and written by Lauren Shippen. Listen to the first 2 episodes on August 6th and subscribe to the show for free on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.